I have to admit that as I was speaking to the children before they left, I had this memory and a moment of compunction of all of the times I told my father I'd either set the sprinklers or mow the lawn during the summer and then never got around to it until right before he was going to come home from work. I think that what Jesus is saying here really does speak to our own life experience quite a bit. We know that the will of God is for us to love and be loved, and that the will of Jesus is for us to know that we are loved and to love others. That his message throughout the gospel continues to come back to this truth. And in Matthew's gospel in particular, there's this emphasis for Jesus on the spirit of the law, the heart of the law, not at the expense of the letter at all, but that this law of love should be written on our hearts. Jesus using imagery, ideas from the prophecy of Ezekiel especially, consistently throughout Matthew's gospel, that the law would be written not on hearts of stone, not on tablets of stone, but on hearts of flesh. That leads, I think, when we can do that, to respect life and respect others. But what we see today in this gospel passage is a challenge. Sometimes in our lives, there are challenging times, sometimes in the world, very challenging times. And it's a challenge to live the law when times are hard. Sometimes we're in a place of destruction in our life. Something has happened in our life or in our world, and there's this milieu of emptiness and questioning and not knowing where to go or what to do. Everything we know or something that we know that's very familiar is no longer. And so we question and we wonder. That's a situation that can repeat itself time and time again. Maybe not in each individual life, but in the experience of humanity. A time when things are torn down and we hope to rebuild. Or there can be tense situations where we're kind of on the cusp of catastrophe and maybe even see it coming and are worried and trying to stave it off, trying to hold it back. And that, sometimes it's difficult for us to understand what is it that grounds us in that kind of context. That's what's in these readings. And I think there's a lot of this that we experience even in our world today. But certainly for Ezekiel, Israel, the first temple is destroyed. Jerusalem has been destroyed. Everything they know has been wiped out by their enemies. And Ezekiel is speaking to the Jewish community that's in exile in Babylon. Matthew's gospel, the life of Jesus, the other gospels as well, are set in this time when things are very tense in Jerusalem. And Matthew reflects that tension frequently because of the Roman Empire. I'm not saying this as history lesson to disconnect, but that there's a real experience there where the power of another empire is impinging upon Israel in a way that is very, very dangerous for them. In fact, Rome is going to come in and destroy the city of Jerusalem and destroy the second temple. So the tensions that we see in Matthew's gospel are very real for them. And so here's Jesus addressing these chief priests and elders. And there's two themes I want to point out that in Matthew's gospel are very consistent. First of all, as I've already said, the importance of the law being interiorized. That what matters is what's in our heart. Not that we're, hitting our marks exactly as written, but that what's our intention? And Jesus comes back to that over and over and over again. In Matthew's gospel in particular, Matthew highlights that. It's our interior that matters. But he doesn't say it ever at the expense of the letter of the law. The spirit of the law never is more important than the letter of the law. It's a both-and proposition for Jesus. Another thing that we see, given this, is that frequently Jesus is very kind and very patient with sinners, especially sinners that are noted for it, or notorious sinners, like tax collectors and prostitutes. For Israel, it can't get any worse, right? And Jesus is always patient and kind, because that message of compassion, that message of love, the message of mercy, Jesus always stays on it. Yet, what we see a lot of times in his interactions with the religious establishment, with the elders, with the chief priests, with Pharisees and Sadducees, scholars like he is, and they know that he is, he's harsh. He's very harsh with them. Why is Jesus harsh with them? Because they should know better. They are scholars of the law. They should know the spirit of the law. And so he keeps going after them only for that reason. Because what he's accusing them of is only following the letter of the law and losing the spirit of the law. Which I think begs this question for us. In our own times, and as we experience difficulty in our lives, whether it's in our personal lives or in the larger group of community, how are we in this balance between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law? Do we find ourselves sometimes moving to one side at the expense of the other, whether it's the spirit of the law at the expense of the letter of the law, or whether it's the letter of the law at the expense of the spirit of the law? Yeah, we probably do. They did. Why wouldn't we? And I think it begs the question for us. What gets us there? In these moments of tension, what is it for these chief priests and elders, these scholars of the law, to want to rely on the letter of the law? Because we're looking for stability in a time that can be confusing. Sometimes we want clarity, and that's not a bad thing. But sometimes that clarity comes at a price. And that's what I think Jesus is challenging them about. It's natural for us to want some stability. It's natural for us, especially faced with these kinds of times that are difficult, where there's either been destruction or about to be, and we see it coming, to kind of fall back and regroup and tighten our ranks. And Jesus is saying yes to that and no to that. That's what he's challenging them about. Because this message of love, this message of mercy and compassion, always has to mean something in people's lives. It always has to be given, so that the love that we live out of is choice. The love that we live out of isn't only what we feel, but it's an act of will, that we as human beings have free will. And so we can choose to be loving, maybe even sometimes when we don't feel that. That if we only do it because we feel it, that's not much. It's something. It is something. But the kind of love that Jesus keeps calling them to, and calling us to, is a love that comes from this place of will in us, that we can choose. We can choose to want blessing on the other. We can choose to want things to go well for the other, whether we like them or not, whether we have affection for them or not. That what we're not doing is wishing curse. What we're not doing is wishing destruction on other human beings. That's this call that is the heart of Jesus' message of love. It's that kind of love. Do we want blessing for others? So that when we talk about mercy and we talk about compassion, it's especially that kind of mercy and compassion. Even in disagreement. Even in disagreement. Can we get to a place where we find the good that we all agree on and try to pursue that, work together? We teach love to one another. We teach it to our children. We learn it from our parents. That's this legacy for us. And that is the root of, or the foundation of, our ability to respect life. To respect all life, from conception to death, to respect a life that has the potential to love, to respect a life that has the potential to believe, to respect a life that has the potential to teach that love, and to respect a life that has loved, that has believed, and has taught that love, and sometimes even in hard situations. That's the call, I think, that we hear from the Scriptures today, to trust and let that be the foundation of the respect we have for all life.